with you guys, right? So it's a very straightforward installation of VMware. You can always do a couple of clicks and here it is. So you can see that I've installed VMware Workstation, and let me show you the version. I'm using version 14, right? I've got the valid key for that as well. So I will be sharing this VMware Workstation with you, so you can always implement that. Now, guys, I have to basically build my IF environment, emulated virtual environment, right? Next generation in this VMware Workstation. So I've got a couple of OVA files. I've already downloaded those OVA files from the internet, and I will be sharing the links of those OVA files with you guys, right? So simply using those links, you can always download that. So this is my OVA file for the IF community version, right? So what I would be doing is I need to go to this file, and I would be basically opening this OVA file. I will go to the place where my OVA is placed. Now this is my IF community VM. I will open it up. It is asking me, well, if I want to give some other name. No, I don't want to give some other name. I'm fine with this. I can always set the path for this as well. So I will now click on import. So I've simply imported a OVA. So depending upon the processing speed of your machine, it takes a couple of seconds to complete this, right? And normally, your normal labs, I guess, would not take more than 8 to 10 GB of RAM. So if you have 16 GB or 32 GB of RAM laptop, well, it should work fine. But there are a couple of labs which will take more resources. For that, you can always arrange some server. If you have, let's say, 32 GB or 64 GB of server, well, it is fine. It will definitely help you in doing all the labs. And I'm doing this configuration from scratch. It means just VMware Workstation, it has been installed and nothing else. No, Faisal bhai, it is not because of VMware Workstation 14. VMware Workstation 14 is a very lightly, it's even lighter than the older versions of VM. It's basically the images itself. See, you need processing for the simulation of FTD and for FMC, right? For that you need more resources. Anyway, guys, now let's see that first step. What I have to do, I would be upgrading this virtual machine. I will click on this, upgrade this virtual machine, and I can make it VMware Workstation 14. I will click on next. I will alter the same virtual machine, and then I will click on finish. After that, guys, I will allocate a couple of resources to my machine. See, by default, it has picked up 8 GB of memory and four processors and 40 GB of hard disk, right? And it is automatically, this network adapter is bridging to automatic. Automatic means it will go most likely to the physical interface. So I will be doing a couple of changes over here. For that, I will go to this edit virtual machine settings, and I can allocate around 28 GB of RAM. This laptop, it has 32 GB of RAM, so let me allocate 28 GB for my IF, right? For the processors, again, it's Core i7 hyper-threaded. So I can conveniently apply, I guess, 8:1. I can give 8 processors and 1 core for each. So the total processors will be 8. But again, it will depend upon your machine, right? In your case, you may have to go with 4 right? But I guess in my case, it will be accepted. Hard disk, guys, I can always add some more hard disk space to it. For that, what I need to do is that I have to add additional hard disk. I will click on add and add hard disk. Next, SCSI is fine. Create a new virtual disk, fine. I can add a 30 GB hard disk over here, right? Let me add 30 GB. Split virtual machine, virtual disk as a single file, okay. Uh, Next, and finish. So you can see that our second hard disk 30 GB capacity has been added. Network adapter, guys, I can do NAT, right? So I will now click OK. So just see what changes I've done in this machine setting. I've enhanced the memory, I've increased the number of processors, added the hard disk, and I've changed the network adapter to NAT. Now, guys, I'm in a position to basically power on this machine. I will click on power on this virtual machine. So see this if environment. If stands for emulated virtual environment for next generation. Now it has started its installation process. Okay, I've done one mistake, right? And you can see a warning coming in. I've done one mistake. I will power off that and I will explain the mistake which I've done, right? See in the processors, once I've chosen this the processor number as 8, I unfortunately missed to enable the virtualization. I have to click this, very important. Virtualize this Intel VT. So I have to enable this sub virtualization over here, right? And I will click OK, and then I will again power on this machine. Okay, now it is fine. You know how I've got to know that it's fine. It should give me an IP address to my machine. It should give me an IP address via DHCP, right? Since I configured NAT now, so I should get an IP. And I have to, by the way, remember this third octet. It's important. 192.168.50, right? And it has given me 129. I will see okay, what I will do about this, but I can now configure my FVM further. The password, the login is basically root, and the password is if. It's mentioning over there. See, I've now entered to the if ng setup. It is asking me you can type the root password. I will type the root password as if. It is not showing me, but it has accepted that. It says repeat the root password. I will again type if, EVE, enter. It says type the short host name for the system. If ng, I'm comfortable with this. For these VM installations, the DNS domain name is normally example.com. I'm okay with this. Now comes an important thing. You want to basically assign the IP address to this VM statically. So what I will do, I will press down arrow key and then I will click on the space bar. So now it will allow me to configure the static IP to this particular VM. I will click OK, and it is asking me to configure the management IP address. I can configure any management IP address in this subnet, 19 subnet, right? I can give, for example, 19.40, right? I will then press OK. It is asking me to configure the subnet mask. I can specify subnet mask as /24. OK, it is asking me for the default gateway. So 192.168.19.2. A normal mistake once you are doing it on VMware Workstation by students is that they give the default gateway as 19.1. So 19.1 gateway is actually being used by VMware Workstations. So you can specify the management gateway as 19.2. I will click OK now. Primary DNS server, okay, 192.168.19.2. I can specify the DNS server as my gateway. Secondary DNS, I can configure public DNS 8.8.8.8. NTP is optional. Direct connection, okay, I don't want to involve in proxy. And here it is. Now I've entered this. You can see both of my hard drives. These have been loaded successfully. Here it is. You can see the address, the static IP address that I gave to this FVM. It's now shown to me 192.168.19.40. I can log into this root if, and I can check the utilization of resources df-h, and you can see that I've got sufficient hard disk still available, 56G, because I allocated 70G in total now. So guys, this is first step in which you have successfully implemented if virtual machine in VMware Workstation 14. Any question up till this point? I've just needed the if OVA image. Next thing which you have to do is to load images inside this VM, inside this if environment. By the way, at this point in time, I can always access this if, but you will find that there is no image in it. Let me access it. I can go to the browser and let me apply the address 192.168.19.40 was the address which was for my if. So I've just initiated a HTTP request to this. Added a IP address from 19 subnet over here on my VMnet 8, which was connected as a NAT adapter. Right now, you can see it's enabled, and let me now initiate the browser session 192.168.50.40. So, guys, we have got the and I can give username password as admin is the default username, and if is the password, EVE is the password. I will do sign in, and you can see that I've entered into the if environment. Let me do one more experiment. Please confirm me, was I doing this 50 dot something mistake previously as well? Because I want to basically remove this IP address from the VMnet 8. At times it is needed, but at times we can skip with this as well, right? So let me do one experiment. Let me make this as transparent, right? I've not assigned any address on it, right? I've closed this, close this. I will be disconnecting from here as well. So our VMnet 8 adapter is normal. We have not assigned any address on VMnet 8, although it's our netted environment, netted adapter, right? So let me access the my 192.168.16.40.
19.40.
Typing mistake, right? I was saying something, and 192.168.19.40, and here it is. You actually don't need Okay, in this browser it is not working. Okay, let me now reassign an IP address on my VMnet 8 adapter, and so that's why I'm basically, you're right. It had a different in the VM, in the network editor. It was a different pool, right? But over here, what I can do as a remedy, I can set any IP address on this VMnet 8 from the same subnet, 19.10, for example, right? So even this will work, right? So let's be simple. Let's apply the IP address on this adapter, and let's now try to access this again. 192.168.19.40. Here it is. You can access this. So guys, either you can correct the IP address over here. You see in the virtual network editor, the pool was different. The DHCP pool was different. So either you can do the correction over there, and it's easy that you can go and correct the IP scheme on the VMnet 8 adapter. You can see over here, right? By default, the VMnet 8 has the subnet of 50. You have an option of changing and make this subnet of 19. Even then it will work. And second way is that simply go to that VMnet 8 adapter and configure any IP address from 192.168.19.0 subnet. Right? It should not be overlapping. I configured .10 and it worked. And guys, this is the environment which you will get over here. Please confirm class so far is with me. I can add a new lab over here, right? I can click on this add new lab, and let me name this lab as basic ASA lab. I will save this lab, and here it is. You can see I've got the working environment